The night had been quiet inside NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Facility, the kind of stillness where even the hum of computers feels like a heartbeat in the dark. When the alert came through, not a loud alarm, not flashing red lights, but a single sharp tone that only the people who worked here knew could mean something extraordinary. Something that didn't belong in the usual flow of space data, and Dr. Elias Marlowe, who had been staring at a screen of starfield readings, slowly looked up to see one of the observation feeds shift on its own, the James Webb Space Telescope, turning with deliberate precision toward a patch of sky that, to most astronomers, was nothing special. Just an empty stretch near the edge of a distant galaxy. No known planets, no bright stars, no supernovas, nothing that usually caught attention, yet the telescope's onboard eye had flagged it. And that meant it had detected something unusual, something that didn't match the patterns of ordinary space noise. And as the image sharpened, Elias felt his chest tighten because the darkness wasn't empty at all. Not tonight. In the center of the frame was a dim, pulsing glow, steady and deliberate, like a heartbeat too far away to hear, but close enough to see if you knew where to look. And every few seconds the light shifted in color, almost like it was changing. In a sequence, as if it were communicating, and Elias's colleague Hannah Rahman leaned closer, her breath fogging the glass in front of her console screen, whispering, "That's not natural." Look at the intervals, and Elias already was. The changes in light weren't random. They matched a repeating sequence of prime numbers, a mathematical fingerprint, the universal language for "we are intelligent, we are trying to speak." And his first instinct was disbelief because signals like this had been claimed before. And every single one turned out to have an explanation, radio interference, cosmic phenomena, even mistakes. But there was something about this that didn't fit any of those. Because the signal wasn't coming through radio waves. It was being carried on light itself, folded into the spectrum of a faint star near what looked like the rim of a small swirling disk of material, and as Webb magnified the view, the disk's details came into focus. It wasn't a galaxy, not a nebula, not a star-forming region. It was a spiral of matter wrapped around a darkness so complete it seemed to eat the surrounding stars. And the moment he realized what it was, Elias's stomach dropped. A black hole, enormous, ancient, and yet active, sending out light pulses in a pattern that should be impossible, because black holes were famous for swallowing light, not sending it out. And for the next 10 minutes the control room became silent except for the tapping of keys, and the soft hiss of the air vents as every scientist in the room tried to confirm the data. And all of it came back the same. The pulses were real. They were coming from the edge of the event horizon, and the pattern kept repeating: 2 pulses, pause, 3 pulses, pause, 5 pulses, pause, 7 pulses, primes, over and over. And then, without warning, the pattern stopped, the light froze for a second, and a new shape appeared in the spectrum data, a strange symbol that none of them had seen before. A circle split in half with a thin line connecting the two sides, like some kind of ancient mark, and then words began to appear, not as sound, not as a radio message, but written in pure light inside the telescope's optical feed, as though the universe itself had become a screen. "We built you," and for a long, heavy moment no one moved. No one even seemed to breathe, because the meaning was too big, too dangerous, too impossible to accept right away. And in the stillness, Elias felt his throat go dry as his mind tried to understand. If this message was true, if something unknown, something out there had built us, then everything humanity believed about its own origins, from science to religion, might be wrong, or at least incomplete. And just as the weight of that idea began to press down on him, the spiral near the black hole pulsed again, brighter than before, and this time the light didn't just flicker, it stretched, bending as though space itself was twisting, reaching out toward them, and the data streams on every screen started glitching, flickering with strange symbols that changed too fast to read. Yet everyone who looked at them felt something strange. It was as if the symbols were bypassing language entirely, writing themselves directly inside their thoughts, and Hannah's voice was a low, shaking whisper when she said, "It's not just a signal, it's contact." But contact with what? A civilization? A machine? The black hole itself? The thought made Elias's skin crawl, because if a black hole could send messages, it meant something, or someone, had learned to control the most destructive force in the universe. And that was a level of technology humanity couldn't even imagine. But before anyone could speak again, the light shifted and the star map returned to the feed, zooming in rapidly, moving across a stretch of our own galaxy, heading for a place in a dark, empty sector where no planets had been detected. A region astronomers had always called the void because it was supposed to be empty. And yet now, the map stopped there. The strange circle and line symbol reappeared, and a second set of words glowed beneath it, "Come home and Elias." Felt like someone had reached inside his chest and squeezed his heart, because the phrase didn't sound alien, didn't feel like a command from strangers. It felt personal, almost familiar, like a voice calling you back after a long time away. And then the signal cut off, the black hole's light fading back into stillness. But just before it disappeared completely, Webb's instruments picked up something that made Hannah's eyes go wide. A faint matching pulse, not from the distant black hole, but from somewhere inside our own Milky Way, perfectly in sync with the original. As though whatever had sent the message wasn't just out there. It was here, waiting, and in that moment Elias knew with a cold certainty that the search for life in the universe had just changed forever. Because this wasn't about finding someone out there anymore. This was about discovering who had been here all along, watching us, guiding us, and maybe even making us. And as the control room erupted into frantic voices, Elias kept staring at the final image burned into his monitor. The symbol, the words, the coordinates, knowing that whatever happened next, there was no going back, because if someone had built us, then somewhere in the darkness of space, our makers were still alive. Our makers were still alive, the thought hammered in Elias's mind like a steady drumbeat. Impossible to ignore, impossible to fully understand, and as the words echoed, he became aware of how loud the control room had become. Scientists and analysts talking over each other, questions flying faster than answers could be given, yet under all that noise was a quiet, shared fear, the kind that settles in when the ground you thought was solid suddenly cracks beneath your feet. Hannah was still staring at the frozen image on her monitor, the strange split circle symbol glowing faintly, as though it could burn its way into the eyes of anyone who looked at it for too long. "If they built us," she said softly, almost to herself, "then they know everything about us, our biology, our history, maybe even our thoughts." Elias didn't answer. He didn't want to give shape to the storm of possibilities already forming in his mind. Instead, he focused on the coordinates in the message, that dark region of space known as the void. No stars bright enough to see with the naked eye. No planets recorded. No reason for anyone to go there, until now. The decision to investigate didn't take long. Within hours, NASA had quietly issued sealed orders to redirect a series of deep space probes toward the coordinates. The official reason, of course, would be anomalous gravitational readings. But everyone in this room knew the truth. They were going to knock on the door of whoever, or whatever, had sent that message. The first probe to respond was the Horizon Sphere, an autonomous craft equipped with high-sensitivity sensors and a long-range quantum gamma ray. As it drifted closer to the coordinates, the data it sent back was strange. Faint fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, A consistent low-frequency hum that didn't match any known natural source, and most unsettling of all, occasional gaps in the telemetry. Moments where the probe's instruments simply stopped recording for a few milliseconds, as if time itself had gone missing. Ilya studied the data late into the night, sitting alone in the dim glow of his workstation, and every so often he would think he saw something moving in the static of the live feed, a shimmer, a band like the air itself was folding in on the other side of the probe's cameras. On the second day, Horizon Spear crossed an invisible threshold. The hum grew louder in the data, and the missing time fragments became more frequent. Then the cameras went white for exactly 1.4 seconds, and when the image returned, the probe was no longer in open space. Asterisk at first, Elias thought it was an error. The stars were gone. Instead, the view was filled with a vast, luminous structure stretching beyond the camera's field of vision, a ring, enormous and glowing with a soft, shifting light that seemed almost alive. Its surface moved in slow ripples, reflecting colors that didn't exist anywhere on Earth, even at this distance. Sensors showed it was generating gravity, not enough to pull the probe in, but enough to warp the space around it.